Sorry. Huh? Okay, I understand. So what we're talking about, what we've been called to do, is to begin a new phase of our existence. Like I said during the last broadcast, we are like babies coming to this world, and it's all about learning to understand where we are and what we're supposed to do. So what has been happening since creation was we reached the milestone, the biggest milestone in 1990, when God ordered us to understand, the world within the concept of theorems, infallible truths. And what happens is, in the world where you were guessing, it was a trial and error. And most of our perceptions were developed based on that trial and error. And so we're very much tentative. There are conclusions that were made that could not be proven rigorously in terms of being infallible truth. From the idea of God to why, what is God and why we're here, and what is God, why we're here, why, what is the purpose, what are we here for? So people were free to make their own guesses, and some swore by it and everything. And so what was happening really was a chaos. It turned out there could not be harmony. There could not be one position, for everyone. That's why there's so many concepts of God. That's why people go on to, actually embarrass themselves by saying they don't believe in God, because, they don't even know what God is. So how could you believe in something or not believe in something that you don't know exactly what it looks like? You can't say you don't believe in your mother. You believe that you have a mother. You can't say that. So so therefore, and God is like a mother. So how could you say you don't? So it's that's the contradiction, to say the least. But that's the world of theories and guessworks and dogmas and religions. So there are two categories of understanding. One is the real understanding, which is a theorem. And the other is a theory. The world was living on a theory until 1990. And God ended that by ordaining me with understanding of entire universe through a revelation that God ordered me with, which is called the God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem. Gagut, G19 equal to 0. Through which God infallibly proved that all infallible theorems, people were not even prepared for it. Nobody, it's amazing, nowhere in the writing of any expression of intelligence by anyone, any creature, was there anybody hoping to get a unified theorem. The best every creature can hope for, especially within the humanity on this planet, is a theory. And when that was stated, it was also considered unrealistic. And I think Stephen Hawking put it very, very well when he expressed his own feeling about, about the unrealistic nature of that desire, that search for the unified field theory. He says he can't see how God would even allow a creature to actually peep into God's mind to see roughly what was on God's mind. That's the best a theory can give, roughly. So there was no question that in Stephen Hawking's world and most others, the idea of even talking about, theorem of everything was out of the question. And this is what needs to be understood to understand what it is God has done. Which is why, so therefore, this revelation, therefore, God proved that all infallible truths, that includes all creatures and all solutions to all problems, and all exact equations that are representing all those infallible truths, past, present, and the future, originate out of just one invariant, Gi. And the mere fact the infallible truths include creatures, the Gi, then where all those creatures came from, is a fundamental perception by every creature, or all humans, human beings especially, as the definition of God, the Creator. And even though you understand the ideas were loose in people's minds, Gagut concretized it mathematically, this Gi. So, lo and behold, God defined what God's self. God is the invariant, Gi, out of which every and all creatures and every and all solutions to all problems originate out of. And that invariant has orthogonal components, Gij, because again, Gagotically, before Gagut, people would just define orthogonal coordinates, understand with which to look into geometries, but ironically, didn't really focus on the orthogonal coordinates of the geometry they're looking at until Gagut. It is simply amazing, absolutely amazing, but you have to be a real mathematician to see the significance of that. So people were just, you understand, because it's all guesswork. Nobody knows, what's going on. So therefore, in the process, we accepted a lot of concepts without proofs, a lot of that. So how you know the new beginning is, whereas it was thought all that was necessary, it turned out it was never necessary. We're doing it because we didn't know any better. And so this invariant was what we needed to find. It is simply amazing, absolutely amazing. The Gij is the invariant out of which everything we're looking for, originate from. So we find it, we find everything. And lo and behold, that's what God did. So, but because the Gij is that one invariant containing the totality of invariants that we call God, because the invariant represents all creatures. they change. If you fix a material dimension, I, and you look at the change over space-time, J, comma represent that change. So you're going to be presenting a constraint on that invariant that is exact and infallible, which is because it is the invariant, the change in that invariant must be zero. And that's what is the equation, you know, and the equation representing the theorem, the theorem equation of every and all truths, all infallible truths. So in the process, God ordained me with the understanding of everything. So it freaks people out, you know, very clearly. But God didn't stop there. So then, you know, as a, you know, just in a stated form, until it can be proven, it may sound nice, but it has no weight with any mathematician. So then the next thing is to go into simplify proofs. How about things that we already have acquired in terms by way of knowledge, even though they were all based on assumptions, like counting numbers and what we do with numbers. You know, we add, you know, 2 plus 1, we get an answer that is 3 that we could verify. And so we say, okay, we know this is an infallible truth. Does this come out of Gagut? Gij, comma j equal to 0? Let's find out. So 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. We know that to be a fact, but is there an invariant for it? Yes, there is. And that invariant is, you know, if you write 2 plus 1 on the left-hand side, and then, you know, 3, equal sign, and then 3 is on the right-hand side, you just subtract 3, you know, from both sides. What you have on the left hand is 2 plus 1 minus 3. That is the invariant. And the answer to that invariant is 0. That's it right here. And because the invariant itself is 0, the change is 0. You need a change because you want to see when you're dealing with geometric surfaces, how that surface is changed, or what governs the change. Is the only way you could really locate the whole envelope or the whole manifold. You know, so that's why the change is important. You know, so, but you understand me? It is simply ideal. And that's why many of you don't know me. You can't possibly know me yet. You're going to be struggling until you begin to know me. But once you begin to know me, then you begin to know yourself. So Gij, comma j equal to 0 becomes the constraint. And I found one infallible truth, and I just verified there is an invariant for it, which is 2 plus 1 minus 3 is equal to 0. Wow. Okay, let's see. What about 2 plus 3 equal 5, which is also infallible truth? Does it have an invariant? Well, we now know what, as we did before, we subtract 5 from both sides. Again, we have 2 plus 3 minus 5. Again, it's equal to 0. Wait a minute. That's what it was stated in the theorem. All infallible truths originate out of just one invariant. Is this some magic? Is this some kind of magic here? Well, let's try. 9 plus 1 is equal to 10. So again, subtract 10 from both sides. You get 9 plus 1 minus 10, again equal to 0. Whoa. That's how you know it came from God, in more than one way. Not one way is, it's amazing. You just prove the theorem. Just prove the theorem. but it's a simplified proof. You just found 3 infallible truths you can swear by. And you found they come not just from an invariant, but just one invariant, all 3 of them. So how about 100 plus 1 equal to 101? Subtract 101 from both sides. Y'all understand? You get 100 plus 1 or minus 101 is also equal to 0. So what happens is it is impossible for you to disagree with that. Everything that you've tried so far, proves the theorem. Infallible truth is not a theory. Therefore, so what happens is, okay, I cannot find any, but in mathematics, that's not a rigorous proof. That's a simplified proof. But it is such a solid proof that you're confident it is correct. Because the use of the one that many of you can't even begin to comprehend or think about is, yes, when we apply it to simple addition, it looks trivial. Wait until you have to find out what happens to the entire universe. Could you apply it to the entire universe? That is where you quickly change your mind to say, no, it isn't. It isn't as trivial as it sounds. When you have one application, that's the whole beauty of mathematics. You come up with a theorem and you could do a simplified proof. That gives you a lot of confidence because generally simplified truths lead you to rigorous proof. Okay? And so therefore, but when that came around for me, that's it. I felt really good, but was I, so then I can take a model. And I said, that those additions can be likened to when you get up in the morning and you put $100 in your pocket. And then you call that initial amount, IA. And then, you buy gas, you buy dinner, lunch, you give alms, you do any of those stuff. But each time you make the purchase, you write a receipt for yourself if you didn't receive a receipt of the exact amount. And when you return back home, you're going to do a computation of the final amount. And the final amount is you add all the monies from the receipts and then add it to the remaining cash. That is called the final amount. And then what happens is you subtract the initial amount from the final amount. The answer is exactly equal to 0. That is a practical model of 2 plus 1 minus 3 is equal to 0. If you consider the 3 as your initial amount, IA, and then the $2 and the $1 or the $2 could be the money you spent, and then the $1 is the one that was left over in your pocket. So again, so you have 2 plus 1 minus 3, the initial amount. 2 plus 1 becomes the final amount, and then the initial amount will be the $3. So what you see then is 2 plus 1 minus 3 is equal to 0. So that's a very practical thing that we do every day. So there's no one that can disagree with that. That is the journey that I had to go through with the Creator. So, but what happens is you're not going to present it. You'll be like a numerical, computational kind of person, computation. Just because you compute something doesn't automatically mean, and they seem to be right, doesn't mean that is a theorem, because you don't know in terms of geometries, the geometric spaces. You don't know when things can disagree with something that you verify a couple of them or even a lot of them. So that differentiates numerical mathematicians or numerical analysts from a mathematician or geometrician or a Gagotmatician. In a Gagotmatics, you must prove it, verified, rigorous proof. And so the rigorous proof then comes into finding the geometry of Gij. What is the geometry? It is an invariant and the change is 0. So can you find the geometric spaces, fundamental geometric spaces that satisfy that? And that is where, John, all right, you're going to lead us now to the geometric spaces that satisfy and rigorous proof that the theorem, which is the inverse of N.
All right.
Okay, sir. everybody there? Miss Ra, you
yes, sir.
all right. How you doing so far, Miss Ra?
Doing great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. You're going to be doing better. You're going to do greater. You understand?
Praise God.
Praise God. Praise God. You're just beginning a journey, and you're going to be a lot more powerful. You know, a lot more powerful. And, you know, that's when you begin to feel the Gagut age of intelligence, and which is the age of existence in our heaven state of existence. Is the ideal, because we're going to be, we're living on guesswork up until 1990. It's a whole different ball game with living on theorems. So that's why you don't know me yet. None of you know who I am yet. If you know who I am, you will do everything I tell you to do. Everything. Just like I do everything God wants me to do. Because I know God. God allowed me an extraordinary privilege of knowing what God is. Because inside of God is contained all the infallible truths. So if I understand all the infallible truths, I have known God. Can you see that, Sister Ra?
Yes, sir. I see that.
Praise God. So you're coming very close. As long as you hearing me and you understand me, you're on your way. You understand. It requires a lot of patience. You understand?
Yes, sir.
But it is ideal. It's, in other words, what I'm showing you is I'm not just preparing, but I'm getting you, pulling you into heaven. Can you see that?
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? And at the same time, unbelievable or disbelievable?
Yes, sir. It's a little challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but what you can't argue with any of the things that I'm saying to you. You can see that, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, see, that is the power in itself. That's the power, absolute power. So anyway, so therefore, so I just shown you the theorem, and I prove, and you can see it and you understand it. I presented to you what is called a simplified proof. Do you understand?
Yes.
2 + 1 is equal to 3. That you know to be an infallible truth. And I said, well, the only reason it is true is because it comes from one invariant, Gi, with orthogonal component Gij, that contains all infallible truths, that includes all creatures. You just hearing that alone, and then moving on to see how indeed 2 + 1 is equal to 3 comes out of such an invariant. That is 2 + 1 - 3 is equal to 0. That's the invariant, something that doesn't change. So then I gave you another addition. 2 + 3 is equal to 5. You know that you can swear by that. That is what is called an infallible. Because if you go to the stores, you understand me, you buy something, you know, for, you know, they understand you're able to add that, or they use the machine. Very rarely people count their pennies and make sure nobody cheated them. You understand me? When you're doing that, you're doing Gagutmatics. So humans are known to be Gagutmaticians in practical life. But when you come into the geometry of that is where you need a little bit more thinking. You understand?
Yes.
You deal with infallible truths in your own life, especially adding, making purchases and all that. Okay, so therefore, so I just showed that, I showed you 3, 4 additions that are infallible truths. And they all individually and collectively come out of one invariant, which is 0, which is what we define as the Gij. It's amazing. It's the most amazing that could happen to all creatures since the creation itself. So you could live a life on that, because not only there's none, like a brother Owen came the other day and he said, yeah, I've seen enough examples. I don't see there can be any disproof of it, even though it's simple for proof. It is so convincing and it is exact. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
It's infallible, absolutely infallible. But it's so sweeping, there has never been anything like this before in the history of humanity.
Good evening, Professor Oyibo. Good evening, Professor Glover. Good evening.
How you doing? Is that Brother Cruz?
Yeah. I was looking in my email and I saw that it said Gagut briefing December the 3rd.
That's right. I wish you brought some of your friends along, because
yeah,
this is the ideal part of your life. It's a huge milestone.
That's right, brother. That's right, brother. And it's a pleasure to be here and be able to listen to you this many times in the end of the year, and you bring this together and you speak about the God order. So I can only do my best to continue to spread the message, and trust me when I tell you, I see people out there and they are interested in knowing more about the formula. You are your biography, donations, t-shirts.
Praise God. John, did you share with Brother Cruz the piece, the latest ones? Send him copies. Was it just 1 or 2? Send him. We had some brothers, we ran into that just composed 2 songs for God.
Yeah.
And Sister Ra, by the way, have you been able to listen to those songs yet?
Yeah. Those some of those
yes,
songs.
I've listened to one rap. I really enjoyed it.
Huh?
Yeah. I use some of those songs.
Yes, one of them is.
I like to hear. Hold on, Brother Cruz, because Sister, has been sent already, and I was curious to find out how she found the music, because then that will give.
It's very.
Yeah, Jim Crow is desperate. He's crying. Can you hear her, Brother Cruz?
I can hear, but she echoes something. Yeah, that's the old tactic.
Listen. I'm staying with you very tight until you begin to know who I am. Do you understand?
Yeah, I got you, man. I got you, bro.
When you begin to know who I am, then you begin to know who you are. Do you understand?
Yeah. I like that. I like how you put that there.
You understand me? So then what happens? Then you know why others who are not as blessed as you are, once you begin to know who you are, why they have been jealous all along, and they've tried of jealousy to diminish or to force you to disengage.
Just like June 16, 1991, when you went into the Pentagon as the principal investigator. Jealousy, man, the jealousy.
So you can see, that's why I want you to bring your friends, bring all of them, okay?
Yeah,
And I can tell you, yeah, bring all of them. You see, in other words, so it's always about know who you are.
I got him. I got one gentleman that he's over 30. He's in his 30s. He's got a family, and he's a black beautiful family. And I showed him the other day when he was in the car. He came in the car and he started talking to me about Moorish and the paperwork with all these things, the UC1. And then I said, hey, look, I want you to take a look at this video on the Gagut Each One Teach Many channel. And he went on there and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get into it. I want to come into the briefings. So, you know, step by step, you know.
Praise God. And one of the brothers that composed the new music, he's bilingual, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's going to compose another one in Spanish. And I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right, John? Wow, we have some good, really God news for you folks. You understand? So it's about finding, actually your journey is looking for your creator, okay? So, but you are a reflection of your creator. You understand? So what, in other words,
yes.
You are, you know, just, you understand me? So the baby is a reflection of the parents, right? So you understand, you look yourself in the mirror, you have an idea of what your parents look like. You understand? First you have an idea about how you look like. Then you know, have an idea about how your parents look like. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's the journey that I'm taking you through now. So that is, now once you know that, once you made that discovery of knowing, what it is I'm presenting to you, through which you know yourself, because in the process you know me. You are what you present. You are what you eat. You are what you associate with in reality. So therefore, so you know me. Then you know, wow, this is what you're giving me. So you can know yourself. Then eventually you know what your creator is. And your creator is the greatest. All in caps, all letters in caps, is the very greatest. Because that's who gave me all this power. You understand? You understand? It's simply amazing, absolutely amazing. So now, so once you do that, you know what all God's creatures look like, because this is what fundamental all God's creatures look like. Ethers of Ben. Do you understand? This came out of that invariant. This Ethers of Ben, here's my brains here, because this is where God revealed the thing to. You understand? Professor Hawking, may so rest in peace. He just couldn't believe this could be revealed to a creature with a brain like this, viewing this whole thing. You understand? N goes to absolute infinity. That is a number that reflects how many things God has created. How many things? N is equivalent to how many possible things God has created and how many infallible truths there are in the universe. Do you all understand? Yeah. Do you all understand?
Yes.
Now, that's what scared Professor Hawking. He said, no way. No way anybody could be allowed to see all everything that God has created. You understand? Do you really understand? This is the most glorious part of your life. You are getting into a vibration that is in sync with your creator. Because N is the, N is, my plus one is equal to infinity, is the connectivity between God, the tightest connectivity with God as a creature. That's what God gave me. As Professor Hawking never thought the creature would be so blessed. Do you understand? Do you all understand?
Yes.
He said no creature could be so blessed, would be allowed by God to attain ultimate intelligence. That's what God has given to me. It's right in front of you. And for the Cambridge-trained mathematics legend, Professor Atiyah Abubakar, a no-nonsense. I mean, the spirit is unbelievable. He's so confident. He's so sure. He knows. I mean, his mathematics is in the soul. I heard about him growing up. I never thought one day he's going to be, you know, when I came into the department, you know, in the early 70s, you know, where he was head of department, he was so busy. I could barely, I could barely see him. I was in the department as an undergraduate. You know, he had already returned back from, you know, Cambridge and Caltech and America and all the other stuff as the head of my department. And, you know, that was in the 70s. You know, 40-something years later on, he will come and sit down and listen to 3.5-hour lectures on Gagut. The one that was devastating to him. First, there are 2 points that was devastating to him. You know, that really got him wild. One was how elegantly infallible the simple proof was. You know, in terms of, okay, you get up in the morning, you carry some money in your pocket, you call the total amount there as IA, initial amount. And then you go buy receipt, keep the receipt. I mean, buy items, keep their receipt, exact amount. You come back, you add all those amounts on the receipts, you know, add them to the remaining money in your pocket, and then you call that the final amount. And the infallible proof, or the simplified proof says, you know, if you subtract IA from FA, you will get exactly 0. That is what governs, that is the proof. And it is 0. And we know it is always 0. It can be anything else. It's not an approximate. It's exact. Only God can do better. So when he saw that, because he was ready for a battle where we're going to do some geometry, where literally 80% of the audience will be lost. And he was totally surprised when I just used. And he nodded his head. I remember him putting his hands on the jaw to stop the jaw from, you know, from dropping. You know, that was across the board. It happened right here in Troy, you know, with folks from, you know, Professor Julian Cole, former head of math department from Caltech and UCLA. Okay, he was sitting down just like Professor Atiyah Abubakar. He was holding his jaw down too. They were all speechless. That's how you know.
Praise God.
Praise God. They were all speechless. And in different locations. By the way, Professor Atiyah Abubakar was also in Caltech. You know, I think he began the graduate studies that moved on to Cambridge or something like that. You understand? You know, and so, you know, and he could have met Professor Julian Cole as well, you know, over there. If they were not students at the same time, no, actually, probably, yeah, maybe the students, or, you know, Professor Cole may have graduated earlier, and so on and so forth. And so then after he saw that, that was the first shock. He was extremely conservative, meeting me before the presentation and distancing himself. He says, listen, he's seen a lot of bogus claims in his life. And he's not just going to go near anybody that comes with another one. You understand? Now that is the spirit of the most people. So when he saw that, and then I took an advantage of that situation when everybody was in shock to say, well, please, I'd like to see just one person among you to disagree with that proof. And there was not a single one. There were people going to the presentation who were looking forward to have such an opportunity, even if they had to disrupt presentation, because most people were sure I was going to be knocked out, because how could a black man, you understand me, who has been considered to have no brains, come up with something that is incredibly difficult and ultimate difficulty? How could he come with a solution? So it must be a fraud. They use terms like 419 and all that Jim Crow has given to them. So I came in there delighted. I said, this is going to be fun. You understand? So when they hit it and asked, the entire hall, people are hanging, the rafters, in the building and everything else. You understand me? Young people. That's what a part of the amazement. The hip hop culture folks, were there. You understand me? Nice and quiet. They didn't provide enough seats for them, but they were hanging on the roof, on the rafters.
Professor Oyibo.
Yes.
This evening I was with a gentleman that he knows how to build studios from scratch. I mean, he usually get him the equipment, and what I'm getting him to do is that once we establish with Professor Glover and we go over starting what I call the Gagut Web Zero campaign, it's
Yes.
gonna be a LLC company. So therefore, I want to be able to build a studio in Cuba where I can produce the music. You understand? And have that and bring that into, because I'm already have songs where I've recorded my vocals, and I go down on the Olmec civilization. I go into GIJ, J equals 0. Galaxies. I could do all of those things, but I need to put it in something official where it's copywritten. You understand? I want to make sure I take the right steps.
Please make all the notes. You need to see when the ideas appear to you. You must write them down.
Yeah.
You have to make that habit.
Write
it down. Write everything down on scrap papers and make sure they're compiled so that you could go back and visit them again. Do you understand? See, the brilliance that God gave to the black race is what ironically turned out to appear like our most serious problems, because others were not blessed with that, really didn't feel good, and that they embarked on the campaign to really try to force us to forget such a blessing. And so, you understand me, they attack you mentally, attack you, try to indoctrinate you, try to slap you 3/5 and everything else. Now, this is what was the basis of that. That's what was happening to you. So, therefore, the 2,500 years experience is an attack on our mental state of mind. Our mental state, physically, psychologically, and mentally. We were attacked very viciously. And hoping that we will not, in other words, they were hoping to reverse or contradict God, because God created us with all that. So therefore, the therapy now has come since 1990. Because every black person has been attacked mentally. Okay? Has been technically, all of us, nobody can escape it. So the therapy began in 1990. And that therapy is to actually verify for yourself why you have suffered for the last 2,500 years. This is why you have been suffering. The blessing of this here, and although the totality was not given, what was given was a minuscule of this. It's zero. In other words, what we were given was a few ends, but it was so superior to everybody else. You understand? So, but it stands out. That is reflected by n plus 1 equal 28 for black people from Yale. They use this formula. They measure the intelligence quotient for black people to be n plus 1 equal 28. And for them, n plus 1 is equal to 19. That's a large gap. Extremely large gap. Normally, things of the same species don't have that much gap. Okay? If they had 19, it's supposed to be in the same species, okay, so if we are better, we were supposed to have like 19.5 or something like that, or 20 at most. But to go to 28 is a large gap, it's extraordinary. And the gap between animals in terms of chimpanzee, the high end of animals, and the beginning of humans is, the animals is 15 and the human begin with 15. So that's only 4 points. And that the interval between the lowest end of humans and the highest level of human is 9 points. That's a very huge, that's extremely huge, absolutely huge. So that turns out, so what Jim Crow had to do was to slap that 28 with a factor of 3/5, and then in his mind, backed with indoctrination and physical and medication, you know, or biological, biochemical warfare in terms of giving you medications, convinces you that, you know, he's supposed to be your doctor at the IQ of 19 when you're 28. Then what's your job supposed to be? Another way of saying, well, Jim Crow is supposed to be a doctor for God. Do you understand? Because the next level after black people, in terms of intelligence, the higher level after that is God. So if Jim Crow think they could be your doctor and be your teacher and be your professor and be your everything, you know, with 19 IQ, okay, then God would be much easier for Jim Crow to be the boss and everything too. So you can see how that is totally delusions and illusions. And so fundamentally 2500s out of these 2500 years have been the age of illusion and delusions. So even if nobody taught you because of your high intelligence, that will produce a shock for you. You're going to have a mental problem. You're going to have, you know, any number of combination because it, you understand me, it's not right. That's what we've gone through. So now you come now and God sends me and then you engage me and then you begin to hear your story. But I have to establish first that all I give is the God order. The only thing that's a God order is infallible truth. You understand?
Yes, sir.
2 plus 1 is equal to 3, or 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. That is what is called God order, meaning they come from an invariant 0, the reference point, when there was nothing else what existed, and that's God. So if you add, you must subtract, you back to God. You understand? So therefore, now, this is what God revealed. So then you can see the simplified proof. But this is the actual rigorous proof. This is what put the finishing touch to Professor Iya Abubakar. It blew him away totally. It was simply amazing. A legend, a mathematics legend, trained in Cambridge University, with PhD in mathematics. When he saw, and because after, you know, it was clear nobody, I mean, the United Nations, everybody, Canada, they were all in there, including the Canadian ambassador was personally present, representing the government in Canada and some NATO nations. He was there to witness things himself. And then, although he came and congratulated me, he really, he wasn't really congratulating me, he was disgusted. You understand? And the UNESCO, you know, also United Nations came, they congratulated me, and, you know, and that was in 2004, November 2004. So then what actually, November, December. So the point is this. So I said, I like one person to put up hand. Not one person could put up hand to disagree with the simplified proof. So I said, well, since none of you can disagree, you're all implicated in Gij, J equal to 0. Then I moved on to Atiyah'S, and I said, well, this is the one Should there be somebody that will have any problem with the simplified proof, this is the rigorous proof. Whoa. Of course, not most people, only the mathematicians really understand the rigorous proof. But, the general public and people have little knowledge of mathematics already are satisfied with the simplified proof. What we call simplified proof is, for many mathematicians, is more than acceptable. Only a real geometer will go to a rigorous proof, that can make you swear it came from God. So, and what God revealed to me here, and this came out of the Gij, comma j equal to 0. Okay, this is the fundamental geometries, the fundamental invariants that constitute all the totality of the universe that was proven to be God. And this is my brains here, and here God is God is showing me the whole universe. That's the whole universe right here, where n varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. All of them are being beamed into my brains by God, which is a contradiction, and a shocking contradiction to Professor Stevens' belief that God will never show any creature the totality of the universe. This is exactly the totality of the universe, fundamentally. So that's not something you're going to deal with in the light years, because this covers all the light years. All right, so how does this make a universe? This makes a universe, you start from 0. When n is equal to 0, you have what is called the fundamental subatomic particles. All of them are in here. When n is equal to 0, it suits all of them. All the ones that were captured in the labs, and one that they're not able to capture. And there is no such a thing as Higgs bosons. There's no such a thing, because they're all divisible. So the point is, so therefore, that's n is equal to 0. When n is equal to 1, you have Afro-Crojan, exact representation of Afro-Crojan. That's atomic particles. So you're going from subatomic particles as n is equal to 0 to atomic particles when n is equal to 1, and then to the solar system also when n is equal to 1. There's no way you can believe it. It is just too much. It's too high. You can't get over it. Now that's what begins your transformation to the Gagut age of intelligence. As in, you are entering the door to heaven. Amazing.
Praise God.
Praise God is right. You are entering the door of heaven. Okay? And so there's an appropriate, amazing grace. And, but this is real. This is not based on theory. Religion is a theory. That's why Catholic Church reacted. That document I showed you, that's why I show you. So therefore, when n gets between minus infinity and plus infinity, everything that is in the universe is contained in there. That means my brain is right here, and I'm seeing every part and every angle of the universe, even though it is infinity. And I see every corner. There's nothing that is hidden from me. Everything fundamentally all in here. And this is my brains here. That's where it came from. Because God put it in there. God planted the image of the entire universe. And the keyword is image. as in the mapping, map the image of the entire universe, or the totality of the universe, in my brains. Exactly. Now that is who you eventually are going to know me to be. Right now, you just see another brother, you know, talking things to you. By the time you begin understanding this, that this is what is in my brains, then you begin to know who I am. And as soon as you begin to know who I am, then you begin to know who you are. And when you know who you are, not only do you know who your parents are, you're going to know your ultimate parent, which is the Creator. Because this is the Creator in essence. This is the image of the Creator. So when n plus 1 is equal to infinity, it fundamentally defines God, the Creator, as the one unbounded space-time of intelligence. This is space-time here, and this is the material, you know, a material. The space-time is geometry, and the material is the materialization of this, you know, this space-time, you know, that forms an initial parameter to begin the journey of geometry. So that's what God revealed to me. So here, the totality of the universe is my brains. And it is so intimately put in my brains. It's so planted in my brains. I'm one with it. That's why I can explain things to you. So when Professor E. Abubakar saw this, that's it. He went and called a press conference. Before the lecture, he was hesitant because people would say, well, are you going to give an interview? You're going to make a comment on Gagut? And he said, hell no, he's not going to do anything like that. But once he's been blown away, because what you did is we have what is called the theorem and its infallible proof. Absolute infallible proof. Another way of saying the Gij are comma j equal to 0. The Gij's are all solutions to all problems. And the constraint, you know, the constraint that must be for them to be solutions is Gij comma j equal to 0, because they are the invariants of all solutions to all problems, individually and collectively. So therefore, mathematically, all you need is to develop the conditions or the necessary conditions to qualify them for them to be solutions to all problems. All and each problems. That's all you really need. But you must prove that constraint is valid. And that's what this proves, because these are the fundamental building blocks for all the exact solutions to all problems. So, because every experience before Gaga in terms of any tangible discoveries is you go through any number of guesswork and then you come up with a constraint. Most of them are, you know, it's simply amazing. I get emotional when I talk about it, because it's so big. Many times I come out and I cry, because it's just way beyond anybody's comprehension. So Stephen Hawking was not fooling around when he said that, because he knew this was an impossible mission. So you're talking to a person that God has ordered to reproduce something that's impossible. It's a miracle, absolute miracle. And your journey is how to understand in a simplest, you understand, get the sense. That's all you can do right now. Get the sense of what it is we're talking about. We're talking about what is the entire universe. You heard bits and pieces of stories before. They talk about quantum theory and all these other things. Everything. You've been hearing too many things. Just the dynamics of hearing what is going on, you're confused. But this is the exact answers to all those problems that just the thinking of it is so complicated and confusing. People they just give up. But this is the elegantly infallible solutions to all problems. Because this came out of the Gij, comma j equal to 0. What is called the fundamental building blocks. And subatomic particles, you know, are fundamental building blocks for every material or every entity that's in the universe. That we know that the quantum theory that in the labs and CERN and all that looking for fundamental particles. So we know that is real. And if it is therefore they are infallible truths. That's what the theorem, what was stated by the theorem. All infallible truths originate out of just one invariant. That one invariant is where we got all this from. It is, I can't begin to tell you, you understand, you're going to go nuts. So if you get 0.0000 or 10 to the power minus a trillion % of what it is we're talking about here today, then you've made a lot of progress. That's how big it is. It makes the collective understanding of humanity and all the other creatures before Gagut, 1990, as being trivial. They'll be close to 0 when you compare that with an absolute n+1 of infinity. That's when you start to pick up on something that then you're on your path to understanding what we're dealing with here in terms of understanding what God has done, in terms of what, you know, what God has put in my head. And so therefore, a lot of things are defined. What is heaven? Heaven is defined. It's a state of existence where there are no problems because they've been resolved by eta sub n. That's a rigorous definition of, you know, just like a rigorous definition of God. Okay? You know, the actual fundamental definition of God is the one unbounded space-time of intelligence that we call the universe. And this, therefore, this formula becomes intelligence in itself. Come on, you understand? It flows. You understand? I'm telling you the infallible truth in that, you know, the totality of the universe. That's what I'm showing you right now. And before 1990, people couldn't even form constraint. They had no clue. Absolutely no clue. So here God has done the unthinkable. Stephen Hawking definitely realized it was unthinkable. No creature will be allowed to see what's on God's mind. This is what's on God's mind when God was creating the universe. So you can see how much responsibility God has given to me. You understand?
Yes, yeah. Yes, Professor, when you say constrain.
Yes. Yes. You understand? For example, what's a constraint? How, you know, constraint means that something must satisfy to qualify as, you know, within a definition. Okay? For example, a human being that's alive, you know, no, constraint is a necessity. A necessary condition is constrained that defines the human being. Okay? A human being will have yes, the constraint on the human being for an entity that you see to qualify as a human being, he must satisfy the constraint or a necessary condition is that the human being has a head. You understand? He has a, you know, that has teeth. Okay, even though the thing might disappear, but those are components of a human being. Do you understand? They have eyes. Even though they can have accident and lose some of the limbs, those are what really, in other words, when you see all that, or even if they miss some of those, you know that it was there before they were created with it. Do you understand? Today, of course, because of pollution,
Yeah.
Children lose a lot of things and so on and so forth. But a human being will have certain features that define the human being. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes.
That becomes the constraint that differentiates, that must be satisfied to differentiate the human being from other things. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Oh, yes, sir.
So the constraint in terms of the necessary condition for any and all creatures must be, they must have a Gij, as in they come from one invariant. And therefore, because they come from invariant, they must satisfy a Gij, comma J equal to 0. That's the constraint, that's the necessary condition for anything to be defined infallible truth. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Everyone just hold. Just hold, everyone.
Okay.
Right. Everyone hold. Just 1 second, Mr. Rock, please hold. Okay, so,
Okay.
yes. So now, so therefore, in other words, every solution to every problem all must satisfy the G command equal to 0. And their fundamental solution, individual and collectively, are all eta sub n. That's what has been proven, because they all come out of the entire of the totality of the universe. But since this is the totality of the universe, it means, and since all the infallible solutions to all problems are in that totality of the universe, you can see how God has given me all solutions to all problems. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
That's what God has done. That's what it means. In other words, all these are space-time, otherwise called geometries. They are all they constitute what is the universe. As a matter of fact, when we're looking for a solution, we're looking for a specific space-time surface. It's, specific space-time geometry that exactly is the solution to that problem. It's all about space-time. So when God has given me the fundamental space-time geometries, out of which every different versions of all geometries in the universe are situated, that is where all the solutions to all problems come from. Can you all see? Can you see that? Therefore, eta of
Yes, sir.
is the total solutions, is the totality, nothing is left out of all the solutions to all of all the infallible solutions to all problems. That includes Riemann hypothesis solution. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because the G2J is the solution. It must satisfy G2J comma J equal to 0. But any Gij comma equal to 0 has the exact solution this way here. Now this is what really tells you what is going on with Professor Atiyah. Professor Atiyah with Cambridge and Oxford, you understand me? That's what happened to Professor Atiyah. You immediately know Professor Atiyah is a real geometer. He's a real mathematician. And you only go to give to Cambridge. He didn't receive much from Cambridge. He went there to give something valuable, his brains, to Cambridge. Because this blew him away, like I told you earlier. Atiyah, if he had the similar degree with Professor Abubakar, Professor Atiyah would be already jumping on and celebrating. And forcing Abel Price body, and even, although it doesn't have much influence on the Nobel Prize, certainly claim math and, field medals to, surrender those prizes to me immediately. Not only did he not do that, he's playing dumb and trying to conclude. In other words, all I need to get credit for solutions to all problems is proving that eta sub n are the fundamental solutions to all those problems, which has been proven is right here. And it fundamentally shows exactly all the fundamental components of the entire universe. So no problem can go outside the entire universe. Therefore, their solutions are contained in that universe. This is that universe.
That makes sense.
They don't want to hear you again. Go ahead, try again, sister. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
That makes sense.
Amazing is right. That's the right word. But that is, you know, that's what we're talking about. So the amazing, you understand? It's simply amazing. There are no words to describe it. So when you, in other words, that's it. See, so therefore, what I have is exact proven solutions to all problems. So all I needed to tell them the solution to Riemann process is to say n is equal to 0 is where a solution is. That, you understand, it blows your mind. In other words, that a so-called mathematician and purporting and alleging he got a PhD from Cambridge University, and with so many medals, so many prizes, you understand? After saying this, still thinks he has solved a problem that whose solution don't already exist here. The only thing that could be to have any rationality in terms of, you know, forgiving him for such morality is his age. At 89, I guess anyone could, you know, could really forget a lot of things. That can only be the reason. It is incredibly contradictory and expression of a total morality for you to see A as of n, where n, you know, varies between minus infinity to plus infinity, to say you found something new that's not already in here. That's what is being purported by Atiyah. But what is, you know, so in other words, these are the solutions to every problem. And since 1990, every prize that has been given for any academic achievement is supposed to be handed over to me. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Because these are the exact solutions right here. You're not required in geometry to do more than say, hey, these are the all solutions to all problems. Therefore, you call something Riemann, but it's already in here. This point is extremely important for you to understand in your journey to discover who you are and why you have been so persecuted. This is why you've been so persecuted. What you had before 1990 was awesome, way above everybody, by a factor of 28 over 19. But now, so you can see with n going between minus infinity and plus infinity contains all solutions. In other words, there's no geometric surface that represents the solution. That is, the surface will be the Gij. That represents solutions to every and all problems that cannot be constructed here. And since this is the entire universe, that surface will be inside the universe. And every aspect of the universe is embodied in here. Only God can do better. That automatically means that, you understand, to get the universe, n plus 1 must be infinite anyway. Therefore, that automatically measures my IQ. That's my IQ, the absolute infinity. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
And Atiyah with a PhD in Cambridge, and he's been every, you know, big title and everything else, he's trying to kid himself, thinking he's trying to kid you. Can he kid you? Is there anything that Atiyah is going to be presenting to you, if it is correct, that's not already in here, that is not in the universe?
No, sir.
Now that
no, sir.
It means that Atiyah is a fraud. But who is worse? A worse fraud is clay math. Clay math is behind that. These are the exact solutions to all problems. But it couldn't come at a better time of you waking up to be yourself again.
Praise God.
Praise God, of beginning the new age of intelligence. And this is what automatically defines you as closer to God than anybody else, because I'm closest to God, because my IQ is ultimate, infinite, absolute infinite, just like the geometry of God, because God allowed me to understand God. Can you all see that?
Yes, sir.
When n is plus 1 is infinite, that is God, absolute infinite. That's God. But God allows me to see all of that.
Praise God.
Praise God. I understand God exactly. Because God is the one unbounded space-time of intelligence that we call the universe, which can't expand. That's God. And you know that no solution to any problem is hidden from God. You know that, don't you? Does God know
that's right.
all problems? Well, okay, so that's God. I understand God. That means that God, even God has not hidden any mystery of God to me. God showed me all the mysteries of God. What else can be more complicated than God? Can you visualize anything that...
Ask it again.
Huh?
Ask it again. I didn't hear you.
Is there anything that could be more complicated than God?
Oh, no, sir.
As in, is there anything that can be more complicated than the universe?
No, sir.
That's it. That's why if I understood the universe, I just showed you to. Didn't I just prove it to you? Did that?
Yes, you did.
That's right. Subatomic particle, atomic particles, solar systems and galaxies. What else is there? What else is there? And they are all exact. There's no approximation, because I got it from God. I got it from the universe, otherwise called God. That's it right here. What you need to eventually digest is that you talk into a creature that God has blessed with the solution to all problems, as sin, blessed with the most ultimate blessing of being able to understand God, and thereby has solutions to all problems. So sand, making gold from sand, you can see that's trivial. So now what's your part? I have proven my part, haven't I?
Yes, you did, sir.
So then what is your part? Your part is to rediscover yourself again by listening to me, knowing who I am, and you look yourself in the mirror and say, well, I do look like him. Okay. So you say, well, hey, I share his genes as well. Therefore, I am in him. So then you know yourself. You get some details in the process. Then eventually you know who you are. Then you know who your parents are. You know who your creator is. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And once you did that, you are back in heaven now again. Because heaven is a state of existence where there are no problems. That's the ethos of heaven is heaven. Because that's where God resides. Heaven, right? As a home of God. God is the chief resident of heaven. But that is it. That's God right here. So since there's a space-time there, that will be the location of heaven. That's it, right? That's heaven. So what is the necessary condition for you to go into heaven? You must speak this language, infallible truth. Can you say that?
Yes, sir.
All those big-time preachers that have been telling you, you understand me, you must be born again. I know, well, this part of being born again. Do you understand? I've been born again. I've been born again since 1990. That's why I'm so, you can see I'm high on Gagut. You can see that, right? You can see I'm very, yeah, but they're kind of, you know, other people call it exuberance. You can't but be high when you speak in this kind of language. You have a lot of, I'm already in heaven because I speak the language of heaven. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes. In heaven is where God's, you know, the language of God is spoken. And the only language God speaks is this here. That's all God speaks. God doesn't speak any other language. That's it, exact language God speaks. I speak that. So as I'm talking to you right now, I'm talking to the Creator. Do you understand? Because as you know, this is the language of the Creator, and that's all I'm speaking to you right now about. So that's what has happened. So you know very clearly that the solution to Riemann hypothesis is right in here. Can't you see that?
Yes, I can.
Make n equal to 0. The rest are details. And I gave you those details later on, you know. You've seen that over the years, you know, since 2015 especially. You understand me? So somebody's going to try to pull one over your eyes and say, oh yeah, he just solved the problem, or he just proved Riemann hypothesis. What does Atiyah know about proofs other than illusions and fraud? It indicts the whole Jim Crow education system, which is why the Catholic Church turned around and said, hey, Gagut is what we've all been looking for. So talk to Oyibo, because God ordained Oyibo with ultimate intelligence, not in abstraction, but explicitly, exactly, and elegantly infallible. That's what we're talking about. So when I appear like I'm talking too much, look what's in my brains. What do you expect? I'm going to sit down quiet? My brain is low, is exploding. Do you understand? You understand? So that's why time dilates when I talk, you know. And, you know, somehow you've been touched, because otherwise you'll be sleeping by now. But you're not sleeping. You're getting excited. Now that differentiates.
Yep.
Differentiates the God order from the so-called world order. World order is boring and disgusting, because it's all a package of rubbish. Yeah, you know, push black people around. That's world order. That's not right. This elevates black people because it came through the black race. This one here, the God order came through the black race. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
And it isn't just 99%, it's 100%. Do you understand? Whoa, amazing. Isn't
Praise
it?
God.
Praise God. And the Catholic Church agrees with it. So does Yale. So does Göttingen. So does China, People's Daily in China.
MIT.
MIT, of course. As a matter of fact, hey, that's it. Come on now, John. Thank you, sister. Because time is gone already. It's after 10 already. I can't believe it. You understand? John, come on. Got to stay handy, because I'm going to need to go fast here. Otherwise, I could spend the whole time just dealing with one n is equal to 0. Do you understand? So therefore, there should never be one single ounce of doubt in your mind in terms of what we're talking about. It's right before your eyes. It's right before.
Yes.
You can touch it so you can feel it too. It has been consider that as my brains, the crummy symbol, but that's my brains, and that is God directing entire universe into my brains. That's it right here. That's it. So when I want to construct, in other words, it's like a quadratic formula or the D'Alembert solution, like I said before. The quadratic formula is is so insignificant. People, talk about, wow, that's heavy. You understand me? So this is to a quadratic formula as the quadratic equation is to or the totality of infallible truths. As you can see, the comparison, the ratios are insignificant. Or everything that every human knew that were verified to be correct, they are to this. In other words, there must be subsets of this, extreme, tiny, insignificant subset of this here. So collectively, all creatures have acquired before 1990 approaches zero compared to this because they were finite. This is an absolute infinity. Then when compare an absolute infinity with a finite number, it is zero. Do you understand that concept? Otherwise, you're going to be picking it up.
Yes.
Bring MIT and Harvard. Yeah, I can start with that. That's not a Harvard, right? Let's see. Do y'all understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we, the student,
Can you see it, Miss Q? Can you see it? Miss Ra, can you see it?
Miss Rod.
Yes, can you see it? I'm sorry about that. Miss Ra, can you see it?
Miss Rock, can you see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Now, this is Harvard. We, the students and faculty of Harvard, wish to express our desire to have Dr. J. Oyibo, professor of mathematics and Nobel Prize nominee, give a lecture at our campus about the discovery of the theory of everything, which is God Almighty's grand unified theorem. They made it very clear. They still call it theory because it's going to take a while before you win them out of using wrong vocabulary. It's the theorem of everything. God Almighty's grand unified theorem. That's why it's named after God, for which he has been nominated. In other words, because they know that Gagut has all infallible truths that includes all infallible solutions to all problems, including Riemann hypothesis, the all innate or band, where n varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. So you're talking about solutions to all problems. That is a state of heaven. So don't make yourself suffer unnecessarily, for which he has been nominated for the Nobel Prize. We feel that a lecture and discussion about the scientific and social implications of this theory will be beneficial to our school by broadening our academic and social awareness. Harvard, the best in the Jim Crow world, is calling for a revision of the curriculum at Harvard. Can you all see that?
Yes, sir.
They said revise our curriculum so we could, in other words, when they saw this, they realized, that's what I was saying before, the knowledge that is being taught in Harvard is supposed to be the best, and all the other Jim Crow universities are zero. That is as close to a special ed as you can get. They are zero because they have a finite n. Do you hear me? They have a finite n. Finite could be a million.
Yeah.
When you compare with absolute infinity, that billion becomes nothing. As in, nobody's learning anything if you're not learning the Gagut revelation. Do you understand? I just spent less than 2 hours or 1.5 hours and show you solutions to all problems. That's what's supposed to be studied in Harvard. So Harvard does not do that. They're studying a mediocre science and everything else. And their professors and faculty asking them, please give us Gagut, and they're not doing so. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So if that's not bad enough, they go to something they cooked up they call black colleges that are supposed to be studying the Gagut. The people that created Harvard, that's a special ed, is within that special ed even minimize it further. Meaning, if Harvard is studying close to zero, you know black people are close to absolute zero in terms of the so-called black colleges. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
In other words, eters of infinity, where they're supposed to be studying, you know, is too, I mean, it's infinite times bigger than a finite value, which is what every other school studies. But they rake money from people, people are dying, you understand? And all they're distributing is license to kill because they're distributing ignorance in effect. Do you understand?
That's not nice.
That is absolutely not nice. That's why you're here. That needs to change. So for you, Jim Crow has been pestering our lives and wasting our minds, first by pretending to teach us. So the God order says, Jim Crow, come on now, wake up. That's what was done in Yale. But inertia is holding both parties apart. And some people are getting ideas and say, well, we better revert back to the original way because it's going to be hard to understand Gagut. So we've now organized a weekly presentation to help the whole world. Now, very few black people are actually watching this. So it's non-blacks that are benefiting the most. So the brothers and sisters must recognize that and wake the other black people up. The only time you can prove that you are picking something from Gagut is if it begins to change your life. Do you all understand?
Yes.
Until it begins to touch your life and change your life, you have not started understanding yet. You have more. I'm giving you the totality of knowledge. You understand? So the only way you can prove to me you are understanding an ounce of it is if you understand it well enough to make an impact on your life. That's the only time you can say, gee, I understand it. Otherwise, you have to come in religiously, not religious, gagotically, every week. You come, you register for your briefing. You see, it has to begin with the registration. Because if you don't value it well enough to register for it, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Because you got into spiritual mode, the mental mode, but you said, yeah, because it's worth nothing, I don't need to pay for it, or vice versa. You know, I don't have to pay for it. Automatically makes it worthless to you. See, your nature it has a lot of God in it because God created you and I. So sometimes there are things that happen subconsciously, something that happens that you really are unable to control. Sometimes they call it karma, or karma, whatever they call it. So you say, you can't go and sit in a Harvard class without paying your whole life to them, and you're getting a class that you understand, the collective brains in Harvard or the knowledge in Harvard, they still can't comprehend it. And then you think, oh, it's worthless. You don't have to pay for it. That's where you knock yourself out. That, you know, that's the lack of understanding that you need to overcome first. Because even if you absorb some things, they're going to leave you the way they came to you. You understand? It's a karma dynamics.
Yes, sir.
It's a reality. The only thing that you value is something that you've made sacrifice for, something that you recognize its value. If you don't have to earn money, the money will be useless to you. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Yes. If you don't work hard to make money, you'll be throwing the money away to have no value whatsoever to you. But if you work hard for it, you want to keep that money as long as possible. That's the dynamic of psychology and philosophy and Gagutmatics. So that's why it's important. If you pace yourself, say, okay, I'll register and bring other people to register. I don't need your money. You need your own money. FAPI doesn't need anybody's money. 20 zillion was what's required for us to get started. We didn't get that from anyone. God gave it to me in God's currency. That's what I'm trying to get across. And you have some of that God currency yourself, which is your intelligence. So do not constrain your intelligence. Your intelligence says to you, Atiyah's of infinity is a solution to all problems. You want to go get it. But how could you get solutions to all problems and you think you can get it for free? Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So when you say you're going to get it for free, you have already neutralized its value. That's what you've done mentally. And that is the way it's going to work out. You have no use. Because you washing away its value is unnecessary. It's a big part of your own lack of understanding. And as a people that came through your encounter with Jim Crow, that indoctrinated you to find no value in yourself. That's where that comes from. So it's a technical knockout. Because the moment you make that decision, I'll just go on. Yeah, I'll look at the video, but you see, when you, okay, so I look for free, it's going to be for free. No. That is your first most serious problem. Sister Ra raises the money, and she's one of the people getting the most out of the lectures. Because she knows the value. Sometime this afternoon, she was lecturing people. Sister Ra, isn't that right?
That's right. Yes, that's correct.
That's right. That's right. Sister Ra is the one that will go and do miracles. And people will be throwing a few dollars at her. And she will go and locate some, you understand, some money and say, hey, this goes for Gagut. That is why she's learning it better than many, many, many of you. Because she connects the value of what she's learning with money. While it is not really all your fault, it's mostly Jim Crow's fault. Once you begin to be touched by Gagut, you're rising up. Because it's the value that should be the thing that motivates you. You've never seen, and there was no way you were even dreaming of ever coming across what you just heard, even the little piece that you heard today. I showed the necessary condition for a solution, to be a solution to any particular problem, which is Gij, equal to 0. That's the necessary condition. And the sufficient is the proof. Once you prove it, then it's done. That's how all the so-called claim math problems, there's no problem that is not solved already. And the real geometer, the real mathematician knows that eta sub n is all that is required. The rest is turning the crank. It's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Atiyah has to go and me and look for some fraudulent stuff. There's no room for any errors in what God did. You saw the verification, there were no errors in it. That 2 plus 1 is equal to 3 comes out of invariant. 2 plus 1 minus 3 is equal to 0. Was there any errors in that?
No, sir.
That's not as much you can say about Atiyah or whatever he claimed he used. If it is correct, he just tried to reproduce eta sub n or steal eta sub n. That's why he's out of luck. Because the Harvard professors, that's them here, they recognize eta sub infinity. They just said it. You see that? The theorem of everything, even though they call it the theory of everything. Gagut. That's eta sub infinity.
Yeah.
Atiyah says, oh no, Gagut doesn't exist. That is something they crafted up. He crafted up with clay math. It's part of the clay math clique. And their whole thing is a fraudulent response to when the award was given, because they were dumb enough to think that Gagut is, G2J was going to wait for them to make a decision. They proved they don't have the ability to make it. So therefore, what is being presented is a fake thing formulated by clay math. But clay math has no mathematics. Absolutely no mathematics. Atiyah, who's supposed to have mathematics, see, mathematics is the exact opposite of lies. Mathematics is a study of infallible truth. You can't mix both of them. Either you're a liar or you're a Gagut-matician. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
And if you're a Gagut-matician, you're already together with your creator because you're speaking your creator's language. Do you understand? That's what gives me so much power. You can feel the power. You don't see me mention words. I give you straight. I give you infallible truth straight up. You can follow even without the background. You can feel the infallibility of it and the totality of it. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is, sir. And I know it. I can feel it.
Thank you very much. We said 2 plus 1 is equal to 3 comes from an invariant, infallibly. You saw that and you can swear by that. Because it's the truth. You saw 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. It comes out of invariant. 2 plus 3 minus 5 equals 0. The same as the 2 plus 1 minus 3 is equal to 0. The same invariant, they're equal to each other. It's one invariant, whichever way you look at it. And once you found that one invariant, you've solved all problems. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
And Professor Atiyah will lead the entire black race in emotion and say, yes, Gagut is capable of solving all mathematics problems. You can see from eta sub n being the exact totality of all solutions to all problems that the statement in the motion is even a conservative estimate, right? When it says it's capable of solving all mathematical problems. But what they're saying is, like the quadratic formula is capable of solving all quadratic equations. That's what is being stated there. Therefore, Professor Atiyah knew 2004 when engaged Gagut, the Riemann hypothesis solution is there, 2004. at what's his name, Professor Sagas in 2000 exactly. Thank you, John. 2000, he already knew the Riemann hypothesis has been solved. Atiyah, who's supposed to be boasting of being the same class, all of a sudden had just found the solution in 2018. That's absolute fake, but you see, they're insulting your intelligence. That's why I'm here to defend you. Do you understand?
Praise God, yes.
Praise God. And they're insulting Harvard and even Cambridge because they don't know any better. They just have a license to kill and to steal. They don't have mathematics, absolutely no mathematics. But you continue to see that fraud through this presentation until
Yes.
until they understand it's time for them to quit. So, and then we're going to show, John, come on now. Yeah, they see, I need the MIT. That's right. So,
Please hold, Mr. Rob.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Rob, we're back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so here is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Again, with the students and faculty of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which wish to express our desire to have Dr. G. Oyibo, Professor of Mathematics and Nobel Prize nominee, give a lecture at our campus about the discovery of the theory of everything. In other words, Harvard and MIT are convinced eta sub n is a solution to all problems. That's a theorem of everything. Theorem of everything. That means infallible solutions to every every and all problems. You're seeing it right before your eyes. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
That's the best schools and the other schools, but those schools are representative of all in the European world, at least. You understand? So they understand, but Atiyah doesn't understand. So we want to be nice to him. We say, well, that's the age, but that age is killing. The one respect an elder gets is when they're getting older, they're more committed to the future for the younger ones. Professor Atiyah is demonstrating the exact opposite. That's where there must be, because from what John saw of him and reported, you know, John saw a nicer person, although he was much younger. 8 years ago, right? Okay, so 8 years ago, you know, he was 81. He was Professor Garbidian's age during that time. Okay, Professor Garbidian transformed on at the age of 81, and he was, you know, one of the last interviews he gave, he was talking about how he was feeling, you know, problems with his memory. You know, he sounded very sharp, but still the memory wasn't great, and the memory problem could contribute to Professor Atiyah's situation because it's extremely embarrassing. Even students at Harvard and MIT understand eta sub n is a solution to all problems. That's what theorem of everything means. Gagut, God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem. That's what John explained before. He says, particularly the Unified Theorem. I will add the G, you know, gut, Grand Unified Theorem. Grand will then bring in the totality if it's not understood automatically. Because the unified, you could just be unifying two theorems. But when it's grand, you understand me? That kind of gives the dimension of infinity to it. But when you have God, the one that belongs to God, of course, is totally loud and clear. That's what the professors, students, and staff of Harvard and MIT and Columbia and other very legendary schools. And Atiyah is supposed to be, you know, not only a student, but a professor from one of those schools, and he doesn't understand that. That's embarrassing. It's totally embarrassing, you know, absolutely embarrassing. But what is worse than embarrassment is that it's deadly. In other words, they are insulting your intelligence. They are trying to destroy your confidence from you, and they're pumping you with fraud, which has been going on for 2,500 years. Professor Atiyah doesn't know that time is over yet. It's over. And both Harvard and MIT, and they speak for Cambridge. If they did, Cambridge must have, well, yeah, who can represent Cambridge? As the only one that I see, or one of the few, said Atiyah is not representing Cambridge. So you're right here. You can see the signatures. These folks, these people are not, they're not fooling around. Okay, take a look. Take a look at the number 24.
Mm.
Take a look at number 24. All right, Dmitry Panchenko. All right, see that there? Now that's a martyr. That's a Gagutical martyr right there. That's a brilliant mathematics professor. Can you all see that from MIT?
Yes.
He's much younger than Atiyah, but he understands all solutions to all problems are solved. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what we're dealing with. Take a look. Go and look at his name so you see for yourself. What you know, and you understand? You see his name over there? Panchenko Dmitry, associate professor of mathematics. And as soon as he proved he understood that, all of a sudden, notice what he says here, on leave, they threw him out of MIT. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's why I say the ignorance is a killer. Can you see that?
Yes.
I just showed you what he recognized and understood, which is eta of infinity or eta of n. So he's not the one that has ignorance. You can see that, right? Yes. You can see that, right? Eta of n, you touched the eta of n before. You saw how eta of n contains everything that you have heard about, like subatomic particles, Africrogen, the solar system, and the galaxies. I showed that to you before, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
But that all examples of geometries. Those are fundamental geometries. That's the totality. In other words, the solution to all problems are made of those geometries. So once you've demonstrated, you've produced those geometries, you produce all the solutions. It's like having the design and the blocks and the fundamental building for a building. You don't have to put up the building before you know it's done already, because you have all the blocks available, all the windows. Do you understand? All the wood and everything, as you have all that ready. And you know where everything goes. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That's what we're dealing with. So that's what he recognized. He's a brilliant young man. And he gets fired from his job. That's ignorance, absolute ignorance. And he wasn't alone. Between MIT and Harvard, there were over 415 professors, faculty, students, and staff. They signed the petition to have Gagut presented. That's all they asked for, and many of them caught hell. That's what happens where Atiyah's of 19 is teaching Atiyah's of 28. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
A baby cannot be teaching an adult. A baby whose brains are not developed yet.
No.
They can't be. That's what is happening. So they do all kinds of crazy things, is what's going on. So the world must be liberated from that. It's what God has called for. Done? Okay? So and then of course you saw Göttingen before. If you want to flash Göttingen quickly.
Yes.
In other words, you want to see the 3 top universities, certainly in a non-Black world, okay? You will see how they recognize that all solutions to all problems have been solved already. But Atiyah, who's supposed to be, you understand me? You understand? And okay? And like I said, clear math is is the one that's really, doing all that, because Clement is a fraud. How to misrepresent things and make people suffer. It's what Clement specializes in.
Okay, can you see
Can
it?
you see that?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, like John indicated to you, the celebration was for a whole year, and they selected for each week a work to be studied. You understand? And so there are 52 of them, and the median happens to be 26. That's where they put Gagut. That's where Gagut is put. But they recommended for every human being, literally, or certainly those who are in the universities and other schools, must study these works because they are very important works. But the top of them all, because it has all solutions to all problems, is Gagut. You can see that. So that's another, and from Göttingen, that's extreme. That used to be the headquarters of mathematics before Gagut. They had the brains that is consistent with what was done by MIT and Harvard. So Göttingen, Harvard, and MIT spoke for all the educational institutions in the world. While Abubakar, let's get to Abubakar. John, Abubakar spoke for the black people. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So therefore, you sing a stack of testimonies, godly testimonies with regards to Gagut as a solution to our problems. So your job now is to not be like Atiyah, because Atiyah is trying to pull fraud on you. You understand? You don't go there because you don't want to go into shame. Shame is nothing to be, okay. Okay, yeah. So I don't have a lot of time for that. I just want to read the Cambridge part. Okay, just go down to you've seen a lot. What's that? You see a lot about him. Okay, you see that very quickly. The most important thing here is that earned a PhD in mathematics at the University of Cambridge. That's what's most important that you need to remember. Okay, and became a professor. Go back to the motion.
Okay.
Y'all understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you see what he says, he didn't mince words. Gagut is capable of solving all mathematics problems. Okay, sit down.
Yes.
That's what we're dealing with here. That's what we're dealing with. This is not going to change. Only the lies must change. Can you see that? It's simply overwhelming.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
See the Senate motion?
Yeah, you see the Senate motion. Yeah, we've seen this before. I mean, I just,
Yes.
Okay, see the Institution of African International Prize and all that. And you see his name again, Senator.
Yes.
Professor Senator. That's him. Okay. And if you like, okay, so just go to the other side. You've read this so many times, and you must keep on reading it. Okay? Keep on reading it.
Yes, I have a copy in my.
Absolutely. So you can indoctrinate yourself with the God order. That's the only thing that matters is the God order.
Yes, sir.
You understand me? Don't waste your time on any other rubbish. God order is all that matters.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, because that's the only entity that matters. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Just go to where it says, Gagut, the solution to our problems. Just flash that. And then move on to the, oh God. Gotta move on to the, okay? All right, can you see?
Miss Q, Miss Ra, can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Yeah, you see? That is, equation is capable of solving all mathematical problems. That's what we're dealing with here. It's in writing. And it's on behalf of the Black race and the rest of humanity. But ALMIGHTY'S is what the solutions to every mathematical problem is. You understand me? That's absolutely, it's so tight. It's no hand waving. What another real mathematician indicated here and convincing all the Black race of is what was shown in ALMIGHTY'S. It's simply amazing. It's too big for you to have, wrap your mind around it, but you're going to keep on going because that, see, in other words, this is eternity. Because all living forever is a problem with solution in all that mathematical problems. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. State of heaven is all in there as well. So that's why you must stick with it. But what Atiyah is pushing is death. This is life. Solution to problems are life, not fraud is death. What Atiyah and claim, and what is amazing, which is why it calls for a lot of serious action, is taking its toll already. That fraud by Atiyah has literally the entire humanity watching it already. You understand? Yes. They're pouring over.
Yes.
Going over there and so they're going to drink arsenic. Do you understand me? That's what makes it a problem. They haven't read this, nor have they read, nor was the humanity, all of humanity are supposed to be reading life, which is Gagut. Gagut is life, okay, and heaven. But instead, where is the devil directing them to? To arsenic. You understand? They're going to death. You see that?
Yes.
They're languishing in hell because hell and death are together. You understand? So that's what's wrong, but you must must keep on reading this. You must attend the Gagut briefing every week, to keep your sanity and use your mind. So now, again, like I said, you must recognize the value. That's part of your intelligence. It makes you live longer because recognizing a value of something is intelligence. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's intelligence. But when you refuse to recognize, it means you are denying you have any intelligence. And so you cannot gain anything from that. It's not a life at all. Okay, let's go to let's go to the let's go to the letter. Okay, we'll go by the letter and then whatever time is left. Okay, so now you've seen why the award was given. Number one, because it's the totality of solutions to all mathematical problems that you've seen in the band infallibly, confirmed by the black race through the motion. And then by Harvard, MIT, and Göttingen. You can't, of course, Das Gupta said the same thing. You understand? So therefore, that's what we're dealing with. Can't believe I also already ran out of time already. All right?
Can you see the letter in front of you?
Yes.
Okay? On the basis of the supremely, what's going on? Okay. No. Okay, I'm sorry. On the basis of the supremely powerful recommendations by the distinguished Nigerian Senate through their unanimous adopted God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem Gagut, Senate Motion 151, co-authored by the mathematics legend, mathematics professor, Senator E. Abubakar. You know, it was done in March 25, 2005. Following their very rigorous global review and verification of Gagut, infallibly and exactly to be all the infallible solutions to all problems of mathematics and all other disciplines, which compelled the Nigerian Senate to demand that you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, through whom God revealed Gagut, be recognized by awarding you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, the greatest academic prize in history on behalf of the black race and the rest of humanity. We are writing to convey to you an African Prize Award for Excellence in Science and Technology of the African International Foundation for Science and Technology. The award is in recognition of your strenuous efforts through God's revelation to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, during 1990 of the Grand Unified Theorem or Grand Unified Theorem of Everything, the ultimate theory of everything, otherwise known as God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem, Gagut, or Gij, equal to 0, which is a revelation by God to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, which infallibly proved that all theorems, infallible truths like all created things and all things that exist, are all infallible solutions to all problems, and all equations representing all of those infallible theorems, all those theorems, past, present, and future, originate out of one invariant GI, which infallibly defines and proves existence and the nature of God, the Creator. With orthogonal components Gij and the divergence or slash change of Gij, equal to 0, which is the holy grail of mathematics and physics, as well as all knowledge of infallible truths. This is the theorem and equation Albert Einstein and other science and mathematics luminaries searched for unsuccessfully. Also for God's revelation to Professor Gabriel Oyibo, the geometric solutions slash infallible proof, eta sub n equal to GNJ xj to power, n plus 1, and to Gij, equal to 0, and hence all fundamental infallible solution, G sub nj, S sub j to power n plus 1. Yeah, that's the Gij, equal to 0, and hence all fundamental infallible solutions and all fundamental infallible proofs to all problems and theorems respectively, including the Clay Math Institute 7 toughest math problems, whose solutions were revealed by God through Gagut during 1990, roughly 10 years before Clay Math was established to announce those problems. And hence, this award recognizes and honors you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, for your infallible Gagut solutions to all of those Clay Math 7 toughest math problems, particularly for your infallible Gagut solution to the Navier-Stokes problem, AMS, A-Pazzi, and company, and all that are given, okay? The reviews are given. And then EMS Choker and for your infallible Gagut G2J solution to the Riemann hypothesis problem, which is G2J equal minus eta sub 0, natural log of 2, plus natural log of u as a function of eta sub 0 multiplied by e to power I into 2j plus 1 times pi. If whatever Atiyah said that is right is in there. but that is in existence 28 years. The best he can get, is that he's a thief. Otherwise, he will show himself as being a moron, which I think is worse than a thief. I don't know. I mean, you understand, it's very horrible stuff there. G2J paper entitled God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem, and it's a killer. Ignorance kills. Okay? God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem, Gagut G(ij, J) equals 0 has revealed proven solution to Riemann hypothesis, a clear mathematics millennium problem by Professor Gagut Oyibo. Gagut Unified and Radical Mathematics Research Journal, November 2010, volume 1, number 1, pages 23 to 310 of Happiness and Technology. YouTube page is given, and the AMS reviews, Mathematical Review 98, E83007, and ZBL EMS 0929-53055. Professor Iya Abubakar / Professor Dambo conclude G2J to be the only valid solution to the Riemann hypothesis, because he had indicated earlier, is capable of solving all mathematical problems at Riemann hypothesis. You understand? Everywhere you go, the truth reigns supreme. You understand? Infallible truth. That's a God order. That's how God rules. The only valid solution to the Riemann hypothesis, and has been revealed through Gagut during 1990. Clayman reviewers, they have not been able to disagree. They cannot fairly disagree with the infallible Gagut G2J solution to Riemann hypothesis. I think I can dare, together with all other problems, past, present, and the future, as well as God's revelation to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, that hydrogen, defined by Gagut as Afrocrogen, is the only real element on the periodic table, and not 118 plus elements, as was believed before Gagut. And in the process, God revealed to you how to produce gold and any other precious metals from Afrocrogen or any other non-precious material, for instance, sand. You, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, were also blessed by God with the understanding that eta sub n represents all of the fundamental components of the universe, such as eta sub 0 representing all subatomic particles, and eta sub 1 through eta sub infinity representing all of the various hierarchies of the solar systems and galaxies. And so eta sub n, with n varying from negative infinity to plus infinity, has exactly transformed the totality of the universe into all of the universe's fundamental components, through which God allowed you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, to understand the totality of the universe. That's what I showed you. I've shown you so many times. You're going to be dreaming about it. And that is your arriving at the state of heaven existence. It's paradise. It's incredibly godly. Okay? Professor Gabriel Oyibo, to understand the totality of the universe. Eta of infinity has also revealed, was also revealed by God to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, to be the rigorous proof of the God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem, Gagut, G(ij, J) equal to 0. You, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, were blessed by God to also understand that intelligence transforms complex realities like the universe to their fundamental, simpler components. We wish to understand those complex realities, just like eta sub n transformed the totality of the universe into all of the universe's fundamental components, through which God allowed you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, to understand the totality of the universe, which is how God revealed to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, that eta sub n and intelligence are one and the same, and that eta sub n exactly defines intelligence. You, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, were blessed by God to also understand that since the geometric solutions eta sub n, where n varies from negative infinity to plus infinity, fundamental and geometrical, represents the mapping of polymorphism of very real complex space-time geometries onto the mathematical space-time geometries like the human brains, eta sub n, where n represents how many different real space-time points can be mapped onto a single point in the mathematical space-time, like the human brains. The higher the number n, the higher the number of points mapped onto just one point in the mathematical space-time. That's eta sub n. That's like my brain or your brains. Geometries like the human brains, eta sub n. And hence, n represents the level or index of intelligence. Actually, specifically, it's eta n plus 1 is the actual formal definition of index of intelligence. Okay, although when it's infinite, infinite is infinite. Okay, God does bless you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, with understanding of eta sub n as exact explanation of how brains work. Eta sub infinity, through which God bless you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, with understanding of the totality of the universe, represents infinite or ultimate intelligence, and n is equal to infinity, represents the infinite / ultimate intelligence level or quotient designed by God for you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, and God bless you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, with ultimate intelligence of eta sub infinity. Eta sub n, where n varies from negative infinity to plus infinity, was revealed by God to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, to fundamentally represent solutions to all problems. For example, God revealed to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, the G2J as a function of eta sub 0 to be the Gagut infallible solution to the Riemann hypothesis. God also revealed to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, that when the value of n approaches infinity, the fundamental building block of the God, for God or the universe, where the resulting eta sub infinity is the absolute infinity that defines God as the one unbounded space-time of intelligence that we call the universe, that can't expand. All of these God revelations to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, have been verified by large numbers of global mathematicians and scientists, together with global mathematical and scientific organizations and universities, which include Professor Yom Karo of the American Mathematical Society, AMS, Professor Grigory Sagas, European Mathematical Society, EMS, Professor Chichoka, EMS, Professor Pazzi, AMS, Professor A.D. Conkin, AMS, Professor Alex Animalu, the National University Commission, NUC, of Nigeria, who is a Cambridge University-trained mathematical physics professor, Professor E. Abubakar of the National University Commission of Nigeria, NUC, who is a world-class mathematics professor with a PhD in mathematics from Cambridge University. Other world-renowned mathematics and mathematical science professors like Professor George Henderman, a former Brown University math professor, Professor Edith Lutyens, whose academic grandfather is mathematics legend, Professor David Hilbert of Göttingen University, Professor L. Librescu, a mathematical science professor and a hero of the Virginia Polytechnic Institute massacre, Professor Robert Lowe, a famous aeronautics professor from Georgia Tech, Professor Eugene Brunel, a famous aeronautics professor from Princeton University, Professor William Sigmund, a famous mathematics professor with a PhD in mathematics from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, naming a few. That's what we're dealing with. You understand now? This is, you understand? You understand? This is giving you facts in terms of who you are. This is how you discover yourself, by knowing what God has blessed Black people on behalf of the rest of the creatures. American Mathematical Society.
Praise God.
Praise God. Praise God. That's right. MR Mathematical Review 98E 83007. European Mathematical Society, AMS, ZBL 0929 53055. Göttingen University Greatest Mathematics Ranking. in honor of Professor Carl Friedrich Gauss, considered to be the greatest mathematician since antiquity, before Gagut, during the Gauss year 2005 commemoration, where they recognized Gagut as the greatest mathematics work, past, present, and the future, and hence recognizing you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, to whom Gagut was revealed by God as being the greatest mathematician of all time, with the ultimate intelligence of eta of infinity that can't be surpassed. The verified Professor Professor Paul Garabedian, you know, when he said with a little pain in his feelings and so on and so forth, you know. So being the greatest mathematician of all time with the ultimate intelligence of eta of infinity that can't be surpassed, past, present, and the future, by making the Gagut revolution the center of the commemoration, week 26 out of the 52-week commemoration. And by recognizing Gagut as the God Almighty's grand unified theorem, they have also recognized that all infallible solutions mathematically defined as theorems or infallible truths to all mathematics problems, including the Clay math 7 toughest math problems, particularly the infallible Gagut solution to Navier-Stokes problems, and the infallible Gagut G2J solution to the Riemann hypothesis problem of all, and the infallible Gagut G2J solution to the Riemann hypothesis problem have all been infallibly revealed by God to you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, through Gagut. The National University Commission of Nigeria, together with a global evaluation of Gagut, along with the Nigerian government issuing a postage, Nigerian postage stamp in honor of Gagut. An evaluation by a world-recognized mathematical physics professor, Krishnendu Dasgupta, that compelled him to conclude that Gagut has recognized you, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, as being, in his own words, more close to God than any of us. In addition to these conclusions, the foundation was compelled by the resolution of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, co-authored by the mathematics legend, Professor Senator E. Abubakar, with a PhD in mathematics from Cambridge University, as contained in order paper number 151, dated 15th March 2005, which recognized that Gagut has all infallible solutions to all problems of mathematics and all other disciplines. And if we want other nations and indeed the world to recognize and appreciate accomplishment of African geniuses, African nations should, as a matter of urgency, create mechanism for recognizing and honoring geniuses and great exploits of our race. That this distinguished Senate do urge the federal government of Nigeria to liaise with other members of African Union to immediately institute the African International Prize for Science and Technology, with the prize award money higher than that of Nobel Prize, that it is necessary and expedient for Nigeria and other African nations to make legislative provisions for the enthronement of African International Prize for Science and Technology, that Professor Gabriel Oyibo be honored as the first recipient with the maiden edition of the award. That this Senate do congratulate Professor Gabriel Oyibo on his achievements and honor him with invitation to address this distinguished Senate in the chamber of his God Almighty's grand unified theorem. The foregoing resolutions of the Nigerian Senate, which is the highest legislative authority of the most concentrated blacks in the world, and the result of the appropriate authority of the foundation, confirmed your outstanding credentials for this award. This is the highest prize for academic achievement in the history of mathematics, science, technology, because Gagut is the greatest revelation of a discovery by God to any creature, and necessary high-profile arrangements will be put in place for immediate conferment of the award. the date and venue of which will be communicated to you in due course, please. You are requested to note that a public scientific lecture on the subject of this award will be delivered by you as part of the award ceremony. Accept our congratulations. The prize money for this award is equivalent of $2 million every year for your lifetime. However, beyond your lifetime, the award continues in the same amount, which would become part of the endowment of the OFAP Richest and Technology, the home of Gagut, defined by God only to be the ultimate university and universal headquarters of intelligence for all creatures. For African International Foundation for Science and Technology, Professor Potagorongo, Director General, for the Director General for the African International Foundation for Science and Technology.
You see that?
Yes. So,
Yes, sir.
Praise God.
so you can see how much of a piece of cake this is.
Praise God.
You can see how much of a piece of cake it is towards raising the funds for this prize.
While you go to the
Yes.
the GP resolution. So we just quickly show them the dynamics. And then show, problem.
Just one second, Miss Raw. One second.
Okay. So, as you can see there, this is the paper submitted.
Yes.
Yes. This is highly documented. But, you know, both things can always make an attempt, but it's all irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. So, and the abstract is God Almighty's grand unified theorem, which infallibly prove that all theorems and all equations originate out of one invariant Gi having orthogonal components Gij with divergence of Gij, J equal to 0 has revealed and proven the the Gagut invariant G2J, again, as we gave before, you know, minus eta sub 0, natural log of 2 plus natural log of u as a function of eta sub 0 multiplied by I into 2j plus 1 pi to be solution to the Riemann hypothesis, where G2j is equal to 0 because it's an invariant. Now you begin to understand what we mean by Gij. Okay, everything has has its component of that invariant, individual and collectively. It is heaven, I'm telling you folks, it's heaven. Do you understand?
Yes.
It is heaven. It can't be anything less than heaven, what we're talking about. You want a solution, you just go there, pick up your IJs. You get the particular. In this case, we're picking up the G2J specific solution to the Riemann hypothesis. And what it is, in other words, what the G2J is in reality is the geometry of the zeta functions zeros. That's exactly what represent the invariant that represent the z zeros of this expression. This came from here, or this came from here. This is a zeta function. The zeros will be this is equal to 0, and this is equivalent, the same as this being equal to 0. That's what it means. Exactly. It's a zeta function, that's the symbol there. I said, where R is the the modulus of U. Okay, that's how it's written. R is equal to the modulus of U. And the angles, you know, are defined at, you know, U over the negative, the complex component and the real, or the, you know, the imaginary component over the real, you know, that's the tangent of the angle. That defines the angle. And where U is equal to U1 plus IU2, you know, which, and then of course, you understand, it's there. You understand, it's amazing. You can't get around it. It's right there before your eyes, and it's copyrighted since 2010. Of course, the original copyright is 1990 or early 1990s. You understand? So, and that's how eta sub 0 comes out. That's it right here. That's the general form. But the specific case for S is when G00 is equal to 1 and G01 is equal to I. Very simple. Boom. It's done. So, but what this does is this is a mapping from a U space logarithmically to eta sub 0 space. There's no way anyone can get around that. And whatever anybody says that is correct with regards to the zeta function is in there. But the geometry is what gives them, because immediately when you realize this invariant for a logarithmic mapping, you can see a mapping from U space logarithmically onto a vertical straight line. A vertical straight line in the eta sub 0 space. That's the giveaway. So the rest are details. John, come on. You understand me? That's the giveaway. It's done. There's no getting around this. Also, this. And the eta sub 0 comes from eta sub n, the broad formula. You know, because once you have identified the n, you picked your value already, which is equivalent with picking your a and b values of your quadratic equation in your quadratic formula. You understand me? You want to find out your b, your a, and c, you know, and then you know that the actual solutions are, you know, minus b plus minus, you know, square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's it. So that is, you know, so therefore you computing those parameters. This is one of the parameters that we computed, you know, the independent variable, the unified independent variable, you know, that you use in computing. And that's it. You go back here, you see a logarithm mapping. You see the circles in here map onto, you know, the vertical straight lines. It's that, you understand, you have to be a fool to, you know, go to, you know, to really have a problem if you're a mathematician. You understand me? You're not a mathematician, you're a killer. You're not a mathematician at all. So you just want to play on public intelligence and insulting them. No, that's why God sent us. We're protecting the public, you understand, from insult. Who are disrespectful to humanity and disrespectful to their fellow men and fellow women and fellow humans, and more important, who are disrespectful to the Creator. That's why we flash the God part of it. God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem. Very bold letters. You understand me? To say you can't fight with God is dumb. We won't try to do that. Okay, go to the Yuba 3. All right, so you can see that it is so infallibly true. It's amazing that, you know, like I said, morality is a very horrible sickness, obviously, because they don't have any limits in terms of how much they could push it. So, and that's what makes entity like that difficult to deal with, because they have they can't draw the line somewhere to say below this point I can't do it, I shouldn't do it. They don't have that. They don't have limits, you know.
They don't have limits.
Huh? Did you say limitless?
Yeah, you said they don't have limits.
Oh, absolutely no limits. How low they can get. You understand?
Wow, that's crazy.
Absolutely. That's what makes them so hard to understand. You know, yeah. All right. Did you?
So we are to learn the God order.
Okay, yeah. I want to see both of them. Okay. Okay. Now this is the most damaging. But
Can you see it, Miss Raw?
Can you see it? Hello?
Yes, I said.
Okay.
Praise God.
Now this is the condition that determines convergence. Convergence, in other words, what Professor Atiyah is saying is, for him to say Riemann is correct, it means he is saying the zeta function converges to a limit when n approaches infinity. Because the question asks for the zeros at when n is infinity. But infinity does not have one number. Infinity has not only the number of numbers within infinity interval is large, but individual members of that class, that set, is infinitely large. So there's no way you can talk about the zeros at infinity if you don't specify n. Or the only way it can happen is that as n approaches infinity, the value, you know, the function approaches is independent of n. In other words, And the function that determines that value, which is the upper bound for the zeta function, is this gas, that's geometric African series. This is part of God getting even. In other words, the proof of African origin of mathematics happens to be a critical deciding factor in determining the solution to the Riemann hypothesis. That's what's amazing. This is a story of God and how God exercises God's power. So therefore, I've rewritten this function here, which is the exact expression for U bar 3. That's the gas. This is what we call gas. Geometric African series. So now what happens is, what you're looking for a convergence is that somehow as n approaches infinity, U bar 3 will be independent of n. That means it doesn't matter what is the value of n, the result will be the same. That's what convergence means. So in that case, okay, you evaluated this expression here, or this expression here, and the same expression. So what happens is, in that case, you must prove that, because this is the only place in this expression, in the U bar, this is the only place where n appears in the expression for the upper bound function. Upper bound function. And that upper bound function, which is the gas, geometric African series, wherever the geometric African series is convergent is where the interval where the zeta function converges. And you need that in order to be able to find a unique set of zeros for zeta function. I have not seen anybody even dealing with this particular issue as regards the Riemann hypothesis or zeta function. But it popped up in Gagut, in the G2J. So once you've seen the geometry, so the first proof dynamics is, okay, they do map, the zeros do map, they are to be found on the vertical straight lines. Of the zeta, of the U mapping to zeta sub-zero, eta sub-zero space. So that is verified. All you need is have some basics in complex variable. You can see that from the G2J. That's not what's the problem. And that, yes, there will be zeros, but you must specify n, otherwise called the finite field zeros. However, when you are to find the infinite zeros, when you actually doing the computation, you must specify n for you to do the computation to find out if it's going to be convergent or not. In addition, for you to compute the actual zeros, you must specify n. So what happens is, in the real computation, you must always specify n. Experience has shown that most people can go, you have to have an extraordinarily large computer to go into the range of 100. Okay, when x is equal to 1/2, because when x is equal to 1/2, this number here, x minus 1, will be a negative value, So, and the law of indices is that when you're dividing, 1 by, or a constant by a number in the bottom, the denominator, and the power of the indices, or the sign of the indices, or the power of the indices is negative. It means it's an inversion. It's an inversion. Okay, it's an inversion. So an inversion of a formula, a sort of a fraction, if you have 2, an inversion of 2, or if you have 1 over 2 as a fraction, and you have an inversion of it, as in the power is negative, what happens is the one that's in the bottom goes upstairs, and the one that is in the top goes down. So that's an inversion. So when this thing becomes a negative, it's an inversion. Means that negative 2 to the power negative n over 2, it switches upstairs, it becomes up, but the sign will change then into a positive. So it becomes 2 to the power n over 2. That's what this will become. So when n is very large, 2 to the power n over 2 will become extremely large. That's number 1. Number 2, the function will vary very highly with n, which is the perfect proof you cannot have one solution, one set of solution when n is very large or as it approaches infinity. That's what categorically disproves Atiyah's so-called proof of Riemann hypothesis. That's what you were saying in Atiyah'S of n before. God gave me the vision of solutions of every problem. No matter where they're hidden, I can see it. Atiyah couldn't see anything like that. He just smeared things up and said, gee, prove Riemann hypothesis. But you cannot have one set of solution that is unique. When you specify n, you can get a solution. But then therefore there's no real one set of solution, because when you ask you want a unique, it's not that it is infinite, but that it is unique. But the solution is dependent on n. Then that is no more a solution as n approaches infinity. There's no one set of solution. Therefore, it is wrong for Atiyah to try to say he proved Riemann. But Riemann says all solutions lie on x is equal to 1 over 2. Okay? So there's no unique. In other words, it varies as n varies. The solutions vary as n, but therefore it's not one solution. It's dependent on n. That's number 1. Number 2, x is equal to half is not the only one x where you can compute zeros. You understand? So Atiyah is wrong on so many loud, and this was meticulously proven in terms of the upper bound function. And one of the giveaways that the denominator here shows a singularity when x is equal to 1, as especially as n approaches infinity. So in that case, it's a singularity. Either you have 0 over 0 or a finite over 0. That's a singularity. Therefore, the thing is not determined. You cannot use that. That's why x is equal to 1 is a major problem, which a lot of people who have done analysis on zeta function have come to realize. So that's one evidence this is solid. And it goes through a rigorous, mathematical analysis to arrive at it. And so it shows the proof Atiyah is totally wrong. He has no clue what he's talking about. And when you do the computation, there's everywhere you go, everybody has shown that. Even people who don't understand analysis and company, they're all alike. John, come on. So this U bar 3 destroys that fraud of Atiyah. That's why African International Prize awarded the prize. And so it's a fake news and insulting your intelligence, but Gagut is here to the rescue. Gagut is the God order.
Praise God.
Praise God. So you can see I'm not mentioning words. I can even explain it and you can understand some aspect of it. The key point is this is solution is not supposed to be dependent on n as n approaches infinity. Okay? You understand? So you say, in other words, what you say here is that U bar is totally independent of n when n approaches infinity. Is that real? Is that real that this n
No.
U bar 3 does not change when n approaches infinity? No, hell no, not when x is equal to 1/2? No. This if it was positive sign down here, but it's not positive when this x is less than 1. Okay, it's not positive. But if it was positive,
Okay.
where the actual solutions lie. At Atiyah and Company, nobody had before Gagut, nobody they could swear there were no zeros there because they didn't keep enough terms. In other words, over when x is greater than 0, you find infinite zeros. When it's less than 0, you only find finite field zeros. It is the most beautiful revelation after Gagut itself. It's right here. You can say it. Absolutely clear.
Praise God.
Praise God is right. So that's what you're investing in. You're investing into God. You're glorifying God for the truth. Go to flash the actual mapping so people can see it. You know what that is, right? Yeah, use space today. Yeah, that's right. Let's people sit down for a quick second. And then
Can you see it, Ms. Raw?
Yes, I see it.
Exactly. So this is the mapping we're talking about. First of all, that is the G2J solution. Okay. When you map, equations are mapping actually, or polymorphisms or whatever. You understand? So that's it. So when you map that,
Yes.
you get to go from U space logarithmically to zeta function, eta sub 0 space, and the zeros are on vertical lines. At this point that are dotted, those are zeros. But you take any vertical line, there are solutions. As you're going from x is equal to 0 to all the way to about 1.252. Okay, that's where you understand, and John computed that. You go here, you get the, beyond that, you can't achieve 0 anymore, even at infinity. Okay, the function eventually approaches 1. It doesn't approach 0; it approaches 1. But in this interval, you could still get zeros at infinity. So all these verticals are solutions. That Atiyah says, oh, there are no solutions there. There are no zeros there. That's what Atiyah says. You have to insult our creator. But that's why God sent Gagut. So in reality, what you see is, whereas there's a similarities, okay? In other words, this is, Riemann pointed that he said he proved the actual solution is 1.252 plus IY. They're parallel. One is for finite field, the other is for infinite field. Only God can give you this kind of understanding. Only God can give. God is the greatest. You understand? Go now to the actual specific where you plot.
Praise God, yes.
Praise God. There you go. Thank you. Okay. All right. You can see. That's fine.
Can you see it?
That's fine.
Ms. Raw, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it
very well. Okay. So this is another devastating blow to the fraud of Professor Atiyah. Okay. Now here, this is the negative, the complex, imaginary component. That's the U bar 2. That's it right here. And this is the U bar 1. Okay, U bar 2 is 0 exactly. But the U bar 1 is pretty close to 0. The lowest point is very, very close to 0. But look at the value of n. It's very large compared to the 10. Oh, okay. We didn't show you the Riemann piece. The Riemann piece, when you have n, you can never go near 100. When you go to 100, it falls out of your paper. Okay. So what happens is, John, I'm going to need you to give me the 118. Okay, and then we run out of time. Okay, give me first the 1/2. Okay, quickly 1/2. Okay, no, 1/2 first. I prefer 1/2 first. Okay, yeah, this is 1/2 here. You can see that, right? Sister, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is 1/2 here. You can see these are zeros here. Okay. 0 here, 0 here. Okay.
Yeah.
0 here. All right. Okay, so now, so what happens is, this is x is equal to 1/2. That's 0.5, the 1/2. Okay, that's Atiyah says this is the only where there are zeros. You can see there are zeros here, all right? Okay, but x is equal to 1/2. It is so embarrassing. Okay, then and John computed it. He used the computer. Correct. You understand me? Now n is equal to 10. That's how many terms you need to keep in order to get all these zeros. When you change the number, what happens to this? They change. Yes, the zeros here change. Now, so Atiyah is saying, oh, you understand? Atiyah is saying the zeros do not change with n. As it increases. As n increases, especially in the large numbers. In the large numbers, the change is so very big. It is a total contradiction. That's killing humanity with such a fraud. You understand? It's understood. So this is finite field zero because we must specify n. One n cannot represent all solutions. That's what Atiyah claims he proved. You know, that is a fraud, absolute fraud. You understand? We can now go to 118. Okay. Thank you very much. And so because I know we must finish by This is okay. This is better for we're still in the finite range because you're talking about selecting n that is 10 to the power a billion. That's what we're talking about. So over here, you can see it is extremely close to zero. The imaginary is zero already, exactly zero. And the real is pretty close to zero. So if you imagine you can take n to power 10 to power, trillion, okay? This is going to asymptotically approach the zero, which is what makes this problem so difficult. Nobody was anticipating that kind of concept. So it isn't surprise superficial mathematicians like Atiyah cannot see that far. Before Gagut, nobody could see zeros when x is greater than 1. They couldn't see it. They could not say it. Nobody could not see any report, one single report, that can see any zeros. So they wrote off when x is greater than 0, there are no zeros there. But look, Gagut found it. That's what it says. Oyibo has been blessed with ultimate intelligence. There's no truth that is hidden from my brain of etas of n or etas of infinity. Okay, where the things map to, I can see those things. No human being was able to see zeros because they could not go as far as n is equal to 440. But consider that you must go to x is equal to 10 to the power infinity. This is very small compared to 10 to the power infinity. So there's a very, very slow convergence. So this will always be 0. This will be coming down because we've also verified the variation, because the maximum of this, in other words, the maximum increases with n. Okay, so the bigger the n, the maximum increases. But the bigger the maximum increases, or the higher the maximum, the lower the minimum. So the minimum is going to go a little higher, and this one is going to go a little lower. And so you have a situation of asymptotic approaching of 0. It is the most beautiful mathematics since Gagut itself. Praise God. So obviously I can count how many people beside the ground zero personnel that can actually would have imagined that. That's why we praise God. Do you all understand?
Praise God. Yes, praise God.
Is the, so that Atiyah couldn't possibly see this because, he comes from a group of people with a 19 IQ. Only infinite IQ and people who fall in that class can even understand it, let alone, try to do it. So, but you present fraud and you get a prize, and that the world goes on. No, the world is not going. The one is going to the graves. That's why God sent this. This will rescue humanity from the graves. Otherwise, Atiyah will put them into the graves. Do you all understand?
Yes.
Okay, so that's it. So we must close. We have to close before 12 today. So praise God. But this is what compels us
Miss Q, I'm sorry, I keep mistaking you for the other person. I'm sorry. Miss Ra, what's important to understand is that
Yes.
God is the answer to our problems. And to address the issue you were talking to me about earlier today about the belief that some people try to, who don't understand what this is about, try to say that supposedly this is a using terminology. You have to understand, the thing that's important to understand is that
God must be served.
God must be served,
Yes.
like the Jewish people did through Einstein and through E equals MC squared.
Yes.
People like Louise Bamberger,
Yes.
Carol Bamberger Fold, and Abraham Flexner, along with the synagogues here in America,
Yeah.
they all contributed towards creating IAS, Institute for Advanced Study.
Yeah.
They did that,
and the Wolf Prize
and the Wolf Prize and other things like that.
Yeah.
They took it upon themselves to see it as a privilege to donate and to raise funds for such award. I mean, for a formula,
Exactly.
and a home, to create a home for it.
Yes.
What you're doing is equivalent for what you're doing for our people,
Yeah.
the black people, through GIJ, J equals 0.
Yeah.
Raising funds to create a home for GIJ, J equals 0.
It's equivalent to what was done by those.
It was equivalent to what was done by them. The name is Louise Bamberger and Carol Bamberger Fold and Abraham Flexner.
So your people are very proud of you, is what John.
We're extraordinarily proud of you, Mr.
So,
right?
Praise God.
Right.
Okay.
So praise God for that,
And
Ms. Rowe.
God, Gagut night. This, we would, we continue to do it every week. So what people need to do now is you use your brains. You use your brains to barter for Jim Crow dollar by teaching a sister and a brother and convince them. You can see all you see now are things that make you, defines you in terms of being, but living a life of intelligence. Do you understand? So anybody presenting this to will appreciate it. And once they realize, like they realized in the case of Einstein and other Newton, they say, hey, this is upliftment of the people. This is stopping the nonsense. Atiyah thought he has a ball, he's going to come and run over and all that. No, you flashing this on his face and everybody else that goes along with it. The prize has been given, is done. We just need to continue the life consistent with that prize. So therefore, you will uplift such a sister and such a brother, and they will go and make a donation. In that way, your teaching has provided understanding for him or her. Do you understand? And motivated something that he never had an opportunity before you came along. You understand? So when such
I do.
When the person, such a brother or sister, make a donation, it's done on your behalf. It compensates you for you exchanging your intelligence currency into Jim Crow dollar. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, I see that.
Okay, so that's what God has ordered us to do. So let's say Gagut night and recognize that God is definitely the greatest. That's the evidence of God is the greatest. See, it disproves Atiyah. Flash this on anybody's face that, and please rescue the others. Put on some comments and get people to come and see the real result and to get away from that hell and death that is the trapping people. It's extremely sad, and they're trying to mobilize their people and even our own people to go on the path of hell. Rescue them by showing them this plot. Do you understand? You understand?
Yes.
Okay. Praise God and Gagut night.
Praise God. All right, Gagut night.